Namaste. On behalf of Chairperson Usharani Manne and a very dynamic committee, I, Priya Gasdar, Honorary Secretary, FLO Hyderabad, welcome you all to this phenomenal colloquium. Health systems in India and across the world are facing multiple challenges today, calling for a fundamental rethink of the way health services, products, and systems are organized and managed. In this Power Hour, we will get to understand the key factors that influence healthcare implementation from the perspective of the caregiver, the innovator producer, and innovation ecosystem provider. But first, FLO member Kiran Chabra will pay obeisance to Ma Saraswati, the goddess of learning.
Namaste. Sharadindo Samakare Parbrahma Swarupini Vasara Pithanile Saraswati Namastute.
Thank you, Simran. You did invoke the presence of Jnana Saraswati here. Deepam Sarvatamovaham. All the darkness can be removed by lighting a lamp. I request our chairperson, Usharani Manne, to light the auspicious lamp. Before I invite Usha to deliver her welcome address, a gentle reminder to all those in the Zoom room to keep your audio and video off to enable a smooth viewing experience. Over to Usha to deliver the welcome address.
Esteemed speakers, Dr. Sangita Reddy, Dr. Kiran Mazumdar, Ms. Deepanwita Chattopadhyay, Deepthi Ravula, fellow chairpersons from across India, past chairs, viewers, and my dear fellow FLO members. Namaste. Though it has always been important, health has never been on top of our mind so consistently for so long. We are all weathering an unprecedented disruption to our lives. Health life systems across the world have had to ramp up overnight, pulling together to solve critical issues of space, infrastructure, equipment, testing. Untold number of physicians and other healthcare providers are showing up to work, facing the threat every moment. Even as we owe a huge debt of gratitude to them, we thought it is only appropriate to talk with some of the brightest minds in the sector about what healthy means to the context of today and tomorrow. That all four of them here today are women is especially delightful and a matter of pride. Welcome, ladies. FLO Hyderabad has been buzzing with activity in these 45 days. In pursuit of our endeavor to engage you with powerful ideas, we brought you eminent personalities who shared with us their thoughts on channeling our emotions positively, exercising our personal freedom without an apology, nurturing sustainable organizations, and the future of luxury and role of Make in India. We also had an engaging session about how seamlessly yoga and dance coalesce. Ahead in this month are an interactive knowledge lab for how to strive and thrive in business for solopreneurs and creativepreneurs by Lipika Sood, and another hands-on artisan-guided workshop on Madhubani art. Being interactive sessions, both these will have limited entry for 60 members on first-come, first-served basis. Please register with FLO office soon as you receive the communication. Given the topicality and the widely felt need for it, we are planning to spark a dialogue on mental health awareness by launching a year-long campaign on it at a panel discussion between leading personalities from around the world. This will be on July 24th. Do mark your calendars for this wide palette of curated experiences. Coming to our social outreach efforts, the Agri Empowerment team had a fruitful meeting with about 200 women of the farmer producer organizations of Anantagiri and Ramalingeshwara Millet Farmers Association at Mominpet village, Vikarabad district. The district rural development officer, district project manager and Mandal Praja Parishad members were also present. Through our extended interaction, we understood their activities and training needs. We are already working on a blueprint to address their requirements as well as to help them to become more self-sufficient in identifying and seizing new livelihood opportunities. Our members will get the opportunity to attend a bespoke webinar for FLO by BHub, wherein CEO Deepthi Ravula and team will walk us through the modalities of accessing the incubation and other facilities they have on offer. Successful incubators will also share their journey with us. The Flow Marketplace platform is going places under the able guidance of the enthusiastic team. Congratulations team lead Gunjan Sindhi and members Neetu Surana, Nirmala Jabak, Shraddha Golecha and Sujita Chityala. Keep the great work. You all must have received and read the e-newsletter, What's the Buzz for May 2020. Hope you like the new look that the Orcom team put together. This is a time unlike any we have seen before and one I hope we will not see again in our lifetime. But what is life without few challenges? At FLO, we have not let COVID deter us. Yes, the physical meetings are not there, but technology has made keeping pace easily. So dear members, you will continue to enjoy all the benefits and experiences like before without leaving the comfort of your favorite armchair. All you need to do is make sure your membership is renewed and your access to our programs stay intact. We have had 70% renewal so far, urging the other 30% to hurry and do it too. I'm thrilled that in these 45 days, we have accepted 68 new members into the FLO family. We already have more applications in the pipeline. This only reiterates the credibility of FLO. I would like to thank each of our illustrious guest speakers today for taking time off from their incredibly busy schedules to be here with us this afternoon. Dr. Sangita Reddy's contribution as the leader of India's pioneering integrated healthcare provider and now as president of FICCI is outstanding. Dr. Kiran Mazumdar Shah has not only built India's finest and most robust biopharma company, but championed the cause of affordable innovation with single-minded zeal. To Ms. Deepanwita Chattopadhyay goes the credit of giving India its first life science research park and more recently a hardware product incubator and makerspace. It will be interesting to hear from them the challenges and learnings from the current crisis and how it can provide a critical opportunity for us to understand the underpinnings of a large-scale transformative change. Now, Priya will introduce the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Usha. The personalities on stage need no introduction. They are renowned as innovative entrepreneurs and professionals who continue to change the Indian healthcare firmament for the better, precedes them by a mile. And yet, very audaciously, I will attempt just that. Dr. Sangita Reddy is Joint Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited, Asia's largest and most trusted healthcare group. Currently, she is the President of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI. She is actively engaged in policy making with governments and industry bodies. One of her initiatives, Apollo Reach, aims to build a string of secondary care hospitals in rural areas across India. Dr. Sangita Reddy is also chairman at Apollo Knowledge, an education initiative focused on shaping healthcare human capital for tomorrow. She also leads Apollo Philanthropy, an umbrella entity encompassing Sahi, Cure, and the Billion Hearts Beating Foundation. Amongst several others, she received the Best Female Healthcare Award from the Indian Medical Association, the International Women Entrepreneur 2019 Award from the IVEC Foundation, and the Healthcare Transformation Leaders Award at the Healthcare in Today's Digital India. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Executive Chairperson Biocon Limited, is a pioneering biotech entrepreneur, a healthcare visionary, a global influencer, and a passionate philanthropist. She has scripted a hugely successful entrepreneurial story by building Biocon, an innovation led global pharmaceuticals enterprise which has made outstanding contributions to life sciences and research, drawing global respect for India. Her philanthropic initiative, the Mazumdar Shaw Medical Center, aims to create a sustainable, affordable cancer care model. Kiran has received several coveted awards, honors, and titles, both national and international, in recognition of her inspiring achievements. These include the Padma Bhushan and the Padma Shri, and France and Australia's highest civilian awards. Deepanwita Chattopadhyay, Chairman and CEO of IKP Knowledge Park, is responsible for developing the first life science research park in India and establishing a sustainable innovation cluster around it. She pioneered and is the president of a hardware product incubator and makerspace, IKP Eden, to fuel the maker movement in India. She is a member of several leading life science and research institutions and national and state government committees, contributing in the areas of policy development around innovation and public health. On the personal front, Deepanwita is the founder chairman of Support Elders, a company that brings to the elderly a sustainable ecosystem by providing all-inclusive support in the comfort of their own homes. Our moderator for today, Deepthi Ravula, is the first CEO of VHub, a Government of Telangana initiative, a first of its kind incubator aimed to promote entrepreneurship among women. Deepthi is an electronics engineer by profession and passion. She has 15 years of experience working in USA with Palm, Nokia, Qualcomm, among others, in RF communication roles. She joined the Government of Telangana as a Joint Director for Electronics in 2016 and was appointed as CEO of VHub since its inception in 2017. She envisions to create a work environment that is gender blind and construct economic independence as a tool for empowerment. She is a strong proponent of girls in STEM and women in decision-making spaces. Over now to Deepthi Ravula to start the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Priya, thank you so much for the very warm introduction. Dr. Shaw, Ms. Deepanwita, and also Ms. Sangita Reddy, real pleasure meeting you again, but virtually. So, very briefly, we have about 5 questions for that is actually being deliberated by all the panelists and the team, and we will go through them. And given the paucity of time, I'd like to request that we actually make sure that we go through these questions so that we have a lot of engagement and learnings and a lot more opportunities for the audience to engage as well. So whenever you're ready, we can just get started. Can we get started, madam?
Deepthi, your voice is very low. Can you please? Yes.
Is it louder now?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I will be louder then. Yes.
Sorry, to interrupt you, Mrs. Sangita Reddy has not yet joined. I think you can start conversing with Kiranji and yes.
Thank you, Usha, for letting me know.
Yes.
So, Dr. Shaw, Ms. Chattopadhyay, can we start? Whenever you are ready, we'll get started.
Sure.
Perfect. Dr. Shaw, amazing. Congratulations for winning the EY Entrepreneur of the Year award. And as always, super proud and happy from my own living room, seeing you win the award, because it's always a pleasure hearing you speak. And I'm so happy that I actually am able to ask you questions that I wanted to ask her. So, Ms. Shaw, for an engineer like me, for somebody who's away and not really in tune with the biotech and pharma industry, how did you manage to make it look so welcoming and understandable, even for somebody as away from the industry as me? So can you just let us know, how did you actually make it happen?
Well, Deepthi, it's lovely to see you again, even though in this virtual, way. But let me say one thing, that everything is extremely simple when you're clear about it. I think you know that domain knowledge and understanding of one's domain always allows you to think about things in a very clear, simple way. And then communicating that message, communicating that concept then becomes that much easier. So obviously when I started in 1978, nobody had heard of biotechnology. And I can tell you it was very tough to get financial support for my business because banks didn't even understand what I was trying to do. And it took me quite a few months before I could actually, even explain to bankers what I was trying to do. And I think it was one brave banker who basically got very excited with what I was saying and decided to back me. So I think what I learned from that first, step in my entrepreneurial journey was that first, you have to have an idea that you think is really exciting, something that you're very passionate about, something that you will drive with purpose and conviction. And once you feel that way about it, then you will go and, all out to try and get finance, try and get the kind of investment you need to make it happen. And in order to do that, you will be able to tell your story very well. You will over time, practice and learn how to really get to the crux of the matter. So once you get a buy-in from anybody, then you know that you've actually been able to explain your business in a very succinct way. And that's one thing I'll give as a message to any aspiring entrepreneur. You must be able to convey your idea in a very succinct manner such that people really want to invest in you. I think that's one of the secrets of good entrepreneurial traits.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. That actually makes it very clear. I mean, that's amazing. Thank you. Dr. Sangita Reddy, thank you so much for joining us today. Good afternoon. Hope you're well.
Good afternoon. Nice to see all of you. Hello, Kiran. Lots of other friends on the, on this virtual meeting. Very nice to see all of you. Hi.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. So we'll start diving into the questions for you. Could I start? Sure. Dr. Reddy, being the Joint Managing Director for Apollo Hospitals Enterprises and also the President of FICCI, which means that you actually have a seat at a policy-making table as a business leader and also as a policy maker. So what are your thoughts on the way businesses and governments can actually work together on rethinking the economy from the way it is now to the way forward?
Well, this is a question that could encompass like your whole meeting. But I think it's very simplistically put, businesses are the link between government and individuals and people. So the economy comes alive because of capacity creation and services and manufacturing by businesses. And the economy stays moving because of people and individuals, and that is demand. So when you've been hearing on television, demand stimulation, etc., it's all about people having adequate money and the sentiment to go out and start buying. Whether you're buying in terms of, going back to the beauty parlor or buying a new outfit, or whether you're deciding to, save your household budgets and people are spending on dal chawal. And recently even Swiggy said that while people were ordering from Swiggy, all their treats happened only on a weekend. So this is a typical case of people conserving cash. So it's about having money and the sentiment to spend. And businesses are really the link between the business and people and the creators of the economy. And there are multiple levers in between. So being in FICCI, what it allows us to do is analyze policy, understand the levers which enable business, and the fact of what are these levers which can enable things to move or to enhance the pace at which it's going. So that's really what this is all about.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. And as you rightly said, it is going to be a conversation. If we talk about entrepreneurs and businesses coming together, it's going to be a different conversation. So thank you so much for that. Mr. Chattopadhyay. So it's such a pleasure speaking with you. And one of the things that always amazed me whenever I heard of you or I read about you and I met you is that you were one of the first women in the innovation space. And you were actually one of the first people in the space of biotech, which was actually a blue seas area when you started out. You built IKP over the past 2 decades. creating a platform for spurring innovation in the sciences and the biotechnology space. Could you briefly walk us through your journey and what have your learnings been in this path?
Thank you, Deepthi. I must tell you, I'm not the first woman in biotech in India. Is always Kiran. Kiran?
Yeah. I was thinking that as well.
Oh my God, Kiran sitting here. If she was not here, she would have thought she would have called me. By this time, I would have received a call.
No.
She's here, so I can apologize to Kiran and tell you that, okay, in the science park and incubator space, yes, but not in the biotech space. No one can take that from Kiran. Okay, so coming back, yes, 20 years back when we started, it was actually ICICI. I was working with ICICI, and the idea, then Chairman Mr. Vagul and some of his close associates like Ashok Ganguly, Dr. Mashelkar, who was DG CSIR, and Dr. Balamanian from the Bay Area, they all came together and felt that the ecosystem has to be leveraged better. And what better to do is than put up a science park and incubator. It started with a science park. And I must tell you what Bala told me, and Kiran, you know Bala well. So Bala told me, Deepanwita, we are sculpting fog. There is no precedence in India. So you have to start designing something. All of our thoughts have to put into an artistic manifestation that will become your knowledge park. So it has to be really something absolutely beautiful and new, and with all your passion and heart, you have to build something. And I still remember Bala's guidance and how Mr. Vagul, Dr. Mashelkar, Dr. Ashok Ganguly, Bala, all of them guided us through this 20 years journey. First few, and government of Telangana, I have to say, then government of Andhra Pradesh gave us 200 acres of land. Deepthi, you know about it. And this was absolutely fantastic because we could build a science park at scale. I think we need to do things at scale in India. We cannot build small pilots, and that's why we really need larger science parks. I'll give you an idea. Out of if you look at the number of incubators, according to our Startup India website, there are about 611 incubators, about 127 accelerators. There are only a dozen science parks. So we need many more science and technology parks and biotech parks. So now we have about 600, more than 620, about 620 startups that we have nurtured over time, and about 45 large companies. So it's been a fantastic journey. I would end here and we will take it as a conversation. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chattopadhyay. I mean, yeah.
You call me Deepanwita.
Okay, Deepanwita. Thank you so much. And Ms. Shaw, the question for you now. So, Ms. Shaw, what according to you is the Indian advantage as far as clinical trials and research are concerned? I've been following you on Twitter, so it'll be very interesting to know from you in person what your thoughts are on this topic, and what is the, if there is anything which is not there, so what is your advice on the same? For the start.
I think when you want to look at clinical trials, I think we must understand that this is a very important area for innovation, because it is about clinical research, and for doing clinical research, we have all the ingredients that are required to perform clinical trials. You know, you've got the clinical human resource that is required to conduct clinical trials. You've got the patient population with diverse disease conditions that on which you can do the clinical research. You've got the the hospital infrastructure, you've got the IT capabilities, you've got everything that it takes to actually create a huge clinical trial sector in this country. And let's look at COVID itself. Right now there are at least over 200 clinical trials ongoing in the world, and everybody is scrambling for the right patients. So you need a large population of patients. And Unfortunately, in India, we look at clinical trials as if it's a rent a patient. That is not the model we should be looking at, okay? Everyone wants to know how much are you going to pay per patient. I find it very sad. I find it very tragic when you have these kind of discussions. I think the most important thing that we need to look at is how do we build the reliability and the credibility of running a very, very reliable clinical trial. Today, if India is looked at as a very credible clinical trial destination, then I think this is a huge opportunity for India. But then it requires meticulous attention to detail. The way you collect data, the way you capture data, the way you record data, all this becomes very important. But the beauty is you're creating a huge sector because you need medical writers, you need clinical research assistants, you need investigators who are doctors themselves, you need so many different elements of conducting clinical trials that I think it becomes very, very big and important a sector for India to do. It's a huge job creator, it's a huge value driver, and it creates innovation at the end of it all because you're trying to, and it creates a very strong experimental environment and an ecosystem in India, because if you start conducting clinical trials on new drugs, new molecules, new therapies, new regimens, then you become a very innovative country. See, today, I think if you look at what we did to ourselves, 10 years ago, when we banned clinical trials, it was because we were treating the sector as if it was rent a patient. And when you do that, you are exploiting patients for sure, because you're selling patients, and that's not the way you have to do clinical trials. So I think what we need to focus on is in the clinical research part of things. People must be interested in researching new concepts, new therapies, new drugs. Then I think you will create an explosion of new ideas, translational research, etc., etc. So I, for one, really hope that we can actually leverage this. I mean, today we are talking about developing new vaccines, about developing new therapies, about, plasma therapy. We need to do all of that in a very, very stringent research mode, and it is about understanding the science and the regulatory science aspect of how we are doing that clinical research. So I really think this is something we ought to pay a lot of attention to, and we must rebuild what we destroyed, because we actually had a very large clinical research sector about 10 years ago, which was almost $1 billion sector, and we destroyed it overnight by banning clinical trials. I think we need to rebuild that, and it can become a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, but we have to do it on a very strong foundation of ethics and a very strong temper of research.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shaw. Dr. Reddy and Deepanwita, I'll be asking a little bit of your insight on that topic, because it is something that both of you could have a say in, and I would like to briefly get your remarks on that. So I'll start with Dr. Reddy. Dr. Reddy, I'll ask you my prepared question, then I'll request for your bite on what Ms. Shaw has just spoken about. So, Dr. Reddy, you have the credit of actually creating the concept of integrating technology with healthcare. So telehealth, right? It is something that was considered a future thing, but as we realize now, it is actually a need of the yesterday, today, and every second. So what are your thoughts on this, and what is your guidance on the way forward? That is my first question. Second question is, if you could just add your 2 bites on what Ms. Shaw has just spoken about regarding the clinical trials and the ethics and the patient concept. If you could just touch upon that, that would be really nice. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Deepthi. Wonderful questions, and please call me Sangita. So basically, the power of technology is that it can help us, number 1, optimize our processes. Number 2, enable access. Number 3, collate and synthesize knowledge so that the application of that knowledge can be replicable. And therefore, because of these additions and accelerations it does, it impacts very deeply the 3 significant tenets of healthcare, which is we need accessible healthcare for everyone, we need quality healthcare for everyone, and we need affordable healthcare. So if we merge and use technology in the right manner, we can definitely make a significant difference. However, technology is not the single panacea. See, right now we all know that telemedicine exists. Yet, day before yesterday, there's the story of a family from a district in the outskirts of Pune who walked 100 kilometers, got an auto some way, walked some way, but to reach Pune for healthcare. There is no reason why every primary healthcare center in this country should not have a telemedicine facility. There is no reason why we should not have the PHR, the personal health record of that individual, and we should have proactively been tracking her even before she became so acutely sick. So we have many successes on one side. You know, there's private healthcare doing amazing work. There's even government systems, whether it's, liver transplant, heart transplants, advanced capability in treatment, clinical adoption of the latest parameters happening anywhere in the world. Whether it was remdesivir or plasma therapy during the COVID crisis, Indian clinicians picked it up like that and began to administer it in a scientifically appropriate manner. This is because of their skill set, their capability, their learning, their knowledge, and the infrastructure. However, there's a need to strengthen primary healthcare, incorporate technology into it, create a standards base across the country so that data is available. And therefore, data is first superseded by care. So care is available ubiquitously everywhere. This data is appropriately captured. This data which is captured can be synthesized from surveillance, reporting, tracking to evolution of models. All across the spectrum, we use this data. And now from data, it's the perfect segue for me to move into commenting on Kiran's, but sorry, before that, just one more point which is critical for the Indian healthcare sector is the manpower resources and indigenous manufacturing. We need to bring down our material costs further, strengthen our pharmaceutical chain so that we don't have dependencies on APIs, and enhance our doctors, nurses, paramedics. Finally, evolve all this into a system which is win-win. I'm going to stop at this because I know we're running out of time on this one, but we have to evolve this into a system which is win-win, which removes the artificial boundaries of public and private. The patient does not care. He should be able to move seamlessly across the system, and we should use technology to enable this transmission across the ecosystem. Like you can go from a public sector bank to a Google Pay to a private environment. Similar thing can happen to a high degree in healthcare. And I'm all for more clinical trials, scientific trials, appropriate framework, and using the data to enhance trials.
Thank you, Ms. Sangita. Thank you so much. Yeah. So Deepanwita, now the question I was going to ask you is actually in lines of what Ms. Shaw and Sangita Garu had just spoken about. So can you tell us a little bit on the way forward to enable more innovations in healthcare, pharma, and life sciences? In addition, also your 2 bites on what Ms. Shaw has spoken about regarding clinical trials, because I think that is one of the biggest challenge many of these startups today face, right? If they want, because in addition to all the certification and all the regulations that are already there, the biggest thing is also this. So your bite on that would be really welcome as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepthi. So, what startups should do today in terms of healthcare? Problems are very complex, and knowledge in one domain cannot necessarily give you a solution for complex problems. So we need convergence of expertise, we need convergence of knowledge. So we need teams that can deliver. And oftentimes I'm seeing scientists or startups, engineers are working in domains like healthcare without having a clinician on board, without having a clinical advisor. These kind of networks and interconnectedness are extremely important. We really need, as science parks and incubators, one of our roles is to bring these elements together, because when we bring the network, what we do as an incubator is the startups know what they're doing, but they don't have the network. So our role is to connect them to the right people, right networks, so that they can deliver their dream, their technology, what they want to. So, and that is to be done in an efficient manner. We have to really learn. They actually need to learn from peers. They need to learn from mentors. They need to learn from experts. Experts in the technology domain, in the industry domain. So it's all about working together, the convergence in science. I can give you a very nice example, today morning, I got a mail from one of our startups. The name is Predible Health. Kiran knows Predible. They got a Global Grand Challenge Award for their lung cancer CT imaging. It's called Lung IQ. So basically, they're able to read the CTs and give decision support to doctors. They also use the same knowledge for COVID, because they could find signatures for COVID. And so this is a group of computer scientists from IIT Madras, very young team, and they could understand what it needs to be done. So this kind of synergy, these kind of works together, like healthcare and electronics, healthcare and IoT or ML. So because data is very important, and we really need to work together to see how healthcare is delivered. So regarding clinical trial, again, Bharat Biotech is our neighbor, and they have come up with, they'll be doing the human trials of their vaccine. You're aware, the COVID vaccine, you're aware of that. You know who took the first dose? It's the president.
I thought it
was Raju. So it was so nice to see that they're so committed and you need somebody who doesn't have COVID, because this is a vaccine that is to be given to a healthy individual. And he volunteered to take it and become the first patient. So that is the power of clinical research, and that is the commitment to clinical research. And regarding ethics, regarding transparency, regarding data, there is no compromise. We have to be really, really top class in terms of ethics and data. That is given, that has to be done. But yes, without clinical research, no drug can be developed, no vaccines can be developed. So we all understand that.
Thank you so much. So,
sorry, Deepanwita, can I add to that? I like this thing of ethics, transparency, data. Would you add process?
Sure.
Because known scientific process is what we all rely on. So I would kind of, highlight the importance of process, and then ask in this context, and I think Kiran and I were both wondering about this. We need to accelerate or fast track the process because of the COVID crisis, but we should never shortcut it.
Not at all.
What do you feel about the current process to get this vaccine out, this date of announcement that it'll be done by August 15th? What do you think?
Yes.
I'd love your views.
It is so nice. I was going to ask.
So should I come first or should Kiran come first? Let me give my thoughts, and then of course Kiran. So I think we should not run after dates. That cannot be a benchmark. We have some goals in mind, we have aspirations, but that cannot dictate the science. So every little, whatever has to be done before it. If it takes, instead of August 15th, September 15th, so be it. For that, there cannot be any compromise. So science is not driven by dates. We have to, only thing what is required is we have to deliver as soon as possible. Kiran, please. Yeah.
Well, Deepanwita, I slightly differ with your views. First and foremost, whilst everyone is very keen to get a vaccine fast, I agree with Sangita completely that you cannot take shortcuts. You have to go through due process. For instance, to develop a vaccine, I think we all know, the three of us know, that you have to go through safety, efficacy, data and trials, which cannot be done fast. For instance, just to do a safety trial in phase 1 itself takes a month. Okay, because it's not just about giving somebody a shot and saying, oh, it's worked. You have to actually look at a lot of things when you give a vaccine. You have to see what the immune response is. You have to actually see how long it endures. You have to look at all the adverse events, and you can't just give it to 10 people. You have to have a large representative population
Yeah.
you can get that data. Then you have to give it to, in a phase 2, you have to look at safety and efficacy. So in the first phase, you normally give it to healthy volunteers who are young, who have a good, strong immune system. And therefore, that is no measure of how it will work in the rest of the population, right? Then in the second case, you give it to a larger population with a slightly more, a stratified and larger population who are also a little vulnerable in terms of both age and otherwise. And then you do a very large phase 3 trial on at least 30,000 people, right? How can you do all of that in 1 month, right? So I think that is what is a concern from us. It's not about whether dates should never be chosen, but equally, I don't think you should be, you should be driven by a sort of a time-bound thing. You should be driven by safety and efficacy. So be it. If you find earlier readouts, then that actually shortens the time. But you cannot be taking shortcuts by saying that I'll do it in 10 days or 20 days. It depends how long it will take to enroll the right kind of patients. Because even if
I completely agree. I meant that. Absolutely. Because
even if the vaccine comes out on the 15th of August, like it is being planned, I mean, I wonder how reliably can we take that vaccine in terms of safety and efficacy, because I don't know how many people would have tried it, right? So I think we have to be very careful of not getting carried away with, sort of news, which is like, great to talk about, but I think we have to back it.
Absolutely.
So Kiran, Sangita, and thank you so much. I mean, I was going to ask the questions. I love how you guys actually got it. Having asked all the questions, really nice. I'd really, really appreciate it. Because these are tough questions which I would like for your input, but I was like, how do I ask? But thank you so much for taking it on, Sangita.
Deepthi, it's the excitement of being with such smart women like Deepanwita and Kiran.
Yes,
for me.
I mean, I'm starstruck by all of you.
One smart woman is talking.
And you have a starstruck audience here already. So I'm so excited. So Kiran, now on to the most important question. So one of the things that I've been meaning to ask, and this is something that I think you should actually, all of us should talk about, is that you've actually shown us that, there are a lot of opportunities for women to actually take. You have actually shown us that, there are opportunities out there for women to make a mark in their chosen field. But what, according to you, as you rightly pointed out in the first answer itself, but what, according to you, are the 3 top ways women can grab the opportunities that are available and also excel in them? Because we talk a lot about, it is a world where, it is not fair and all that. But I honestly, as you have actually shown the way, you, Sangita and Deepanwita have shown the way that, there are opportunities. We need to grab them. So can you please give your 3 top ways?
So first and foremost, I think women are trapped in a mindset that they almost pursue opportunities in a gender-biased way, which I think we shouldn't do. I think any and every opportunity is accessible or aspirational for a woman. Okay, you yourself have shown it, Deepthi, because you yourself are an engineer. You have also dreamt in a very, unbiased way in terms of how you approach opportunities. I have never let gender get in the way of approaching or looking at opportunities. I think today, the opportunities that we are looking at are very exciting. I think COVID has thrown up opportunities in ways that we never even thought possible. For instance, we've all been thrown into this virtual world, right? We've been thrown into a digital world. We've been thrown into a world that we are not used to really functioning in. Whether it is how we shop, how we consume, how we interact, how we do many things in our normal lives is all different. And this whole thing is about, the new healthy. And it's about how we look at even staying healthy. We're also worried about how to boost our immunity in terms of, remaining safe in terms of COVID times. But what I'm trying to say is there's an opportunity for every one of us to look at. Look, in my own case, I think every one of us has repurposed our businesses in some way or another. I mean, Sangita, herself was very, very involved and engaged in creating the COVID hotel hospital model, the stay I model, which really it was long time ago, not now. In fact, I remember we all talked about how do we not overwhelm our hospitals. And that was a very nice model that Sangita conceptualized. And, it is now being talked about when we are being overwhelmed, saying that, look, we should have a stay-I model where people who are mild, are asymptomatic and positive, who have tested positive should be in a sort of a hotel where they can be supervised and monitored by simple nursing care. And only if they turn, a little more severe or, if their condition worsens, should they step up to a hospital environment. That was the thought process, right? And these are new models. So it was about repurposing hotels because hotels were out of business, right? Now it's also about telehealth and telemedicine. How do you communicate with patients wherever they are? Sangita talked about primary healthcare or, universal healthcare will need access to healthcare. And the only way you can bridge the deficit that we have in a country like ours is through technology, through digital connectivity, through telemedicine. Look at the whole concept around e-pharmacies. All this time it was not allowed. Even telemedicine was not allowed. But because of COVID, they have all allowed everything. Similarly, we look at regulatory reforms. We are also looking at ways of compressing our regulatory timelines because we can do things in a much smarter way. We can do parallel processing. I think there's an opportunity for everyone. Whether it is making masks and repurposing our garment industries for making PPEs, whether it was engineering companies who repurposed their businesses into making medical devices or people who have started making health apps or digital apps for this time, for contact tracing, you name it. I think there are so many ideas abuzz. That if you think about it, you can do anything. And I think women must let their minds ideate as much as possible because there are so many ideas out there that if you can pick on one smart idea, you can actually make a business out of it. So my message to the women who are listening to this is, look, there's no dearth of opportunities. There's no dearth of new exciting ideas. It's for you to hone in on a few of them or one of them and make it happen. And I don't think you have to keep using that excuse that, I'm a woman, so it's tough, or I don't know how I can do it. That's what you've been trapped into. But I think women have to break out of that trap because I think you have to have self-belief, self-confidence and move on. I don't think I'm willing to listen to a woman who keeps complaining and feels sorry for herself. I want those women to be stronger and go-getting.
Thank you so much, Kiran. I mean, I was just expecting this answer, so it's amazing. Thank you so much. It's so amazing. Sangita, now on to you. So if you look around the world, it is actually shown, or there is a lot of talk about the success of countries led by women have handled the pandemic much better than, the countries which are not. Example, US. So what are your thoughts on this? And congratulations on the very, very cool idea of hotels to hospitals. It is really amazing. And we've been doing this since the crisis has started. So kudos on that.
So, I want to begin by saying that I believe that a good world is a world where men and women participate equally. and that is the base. I have, along with some really amazing men and women, launched the Greater 50%, which is a FICCI FLO initiative. It works across corporate empowerment of women, identification of marginalized women, training of women in MSME, bank access. So it's a range of things. We want to touch 100,000 lives. But coming back to this, I think in a crisis, multiple women have been standing out for their tremendous work and what they've been able to do. Jacinda Ardern, who was the New Zealand Prime Minister, she's been praised for what she's done in terms of control, as well as her simplicity, her practical approach. Germany, you had Angela Merkel, and there, I mean, a far lower death rate than Britain, France, Italy, Spain. Across the other, there was Sanna Marin in Finland, who again showed a lower death rate, a very practical approach. Among the first leaders who really took contact tracing and isolation and good mechanics. And there have been lots of others. I'm not naming, whether it's... Pardon me?
Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland.
In Scotland, yes. Absolutely. So that was a fantastic. And then closer to home, you see our Kerala Health Minister, who's, been acknowledged everywhere. So whether it's a combination of ability to cut to the chase and give practical solutions, to multitask, to be empathetic and humane in your solution and decision making, it's kind of inborn in the DNA. But I would again like to reiterate the fact that I think it's very important for us to say that we don't want any special concessions unless it is in a section where women are marginalized. So if they're not educated, if they don't have access, there we need to support them. But finally, at the workplace where everything is equal, I think we can hold our own and we're not asking for any special benefits. So I want to nuance the dialogue of women's equality or women's capability. This is not a strident, women are great, women only type dialogue. It's a very nuanced acceptance of capability, appreciation of the fact that many women are in different phases of the evolution of societal thought process in their microcosm of existence. And once we appreciate that, then we know that there are differential interventions which are required. So we don't, quote unquote, take advantage of some of these for women who have not had a disadvantage. Yet we are very swift in our ability to address those women who have been disadvantaged and find a way to correct this. And I think we should correct gender ratios, women's representation, wages, acknowledgement of women in leadership, not in the slow pace it's been happening. I hope that in our lifetime, we see significant modification and equalization of all these parameters.
Thank you so much, Sangita. This is exactly what we wanted to hear, because the first meeting that I met you, we did discuss on the role of VHub. And one thing I would like to put out here is that at VHub, also we believe in the same ideology. Yes. We take entrepreneurs and we put after a one-year incubation, we actually have entrepreneurs who've graduated from incubation who call themselves as an entrepreneur with a product. They don't call themselves as women entrepreneurs with a product, because we believe in the strength of the product also. And I'm so happy that, you have actually reiterated that.
And you're a great role model, Deepthi, so go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sangita. So Deepanwita, and this is a segment into the research fields. We know, like, if you look at the power panel here, all of you are all researchers, you're all leaders, you're all pioneers in your field. But how come when I go to innovation or startups, it is so difficult to find a startup which is strongly led by a woman and can stand on its own? If we look at the COVID crisis itself, what are your thoughts? Because we look at, we get calls that we have saying, we are doing this contest, can you send some women entrepreneurs over? So this is the kind of conversation that is happening. But why do you think there is such a huge gender imbalance when we talk about innovation overall and tech entrepreneurship specifically?
Deepthi, if you look at STEM, science and technology, engineering, management, the science graduates are much less If you look at right from the age of 10 or 12, people have been told, women have been told that you have to adjust for A and adjust for B and adjust for C. It is a life where you need to get adjusted in various situations. I have seen women not wanting to take up math. And mathematics is such a beautiful, such an interesting subject. They feel that they do not feel comfortable with math and physics, which I think we at the school level, physics and maths have to become much more, because these make you rational. And I think we really need to get into education when we are talking of STEM and why women's presence is not there. But coming to tech, and if we are, like what Sangita said, we feel that we are very advantaged. So if merit is considered, then probably there'll be more women. There are these old clubs, old boys clubs, because if you look at venture capital, how many VCs are led by women, and how many, and I've had discussions with several women VCs, and there's always a question of, we are not seeing enough role models, we are not seeing enough people coming in. And I think our role, like Sangita's role, Kiran's role, and Kiran does it all the time, I think women need to see success breeds success. There has to be that sense of, yes, we can do it. There is an INSEAD study of, I think, about 1,000 corporates, and it's not just entrepreneurship, it's about corporates, and they looked at presence of women in mid-management and senior management. In all areas, women did equal or better than men, except for one thing, which is called the vision thing. The paper is called the vision thing. Women are thought not to be visionary. And the deep down question was two. One is, women, when they talk of vision, they include everyone's views. Then it doesn't remain the vision of that person. It becomes the vision of the entire committee. So women are inclusive in their nature of participation. So I think we need to define differently when women, but we see that inclusiveness in leadership has given such wonderful results. The other thing about visioning was, again, it's a very nice paper, saying that women do not want to talk about things which they're very practical. They want to see what can be implemented now. They do not want to sell vision. Women do not sell vision. Like Kiran said, data has to be there, does not matter, even if clinical trials take much more time. That is exactly, you do not want to sell vision. You are a practical person. So I think women can deliver much better. What we need in tech entrepreneurship is role models and participation of much more women, and it's going to happen. I am seeing now, when we run hackathons, and especially in life sciences, I see almost 35% of women coming in. So in 5 years' time, believe me, Deepthi, we will see many more women entrepreneurs.
I hope so. We have with the same mission.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Deepanwita. And one thing we have to add here, I forgot to ask you this question. So Deepanwita, one thing is that as an incubator at WeHub, what we've done is we have a childcare area. We also have cribs, movable cribs. We have a mother's room. We have all these space. So what do you think, again, coming back to innovation, right? So what do you think are these workplace mechanisms needed to bring more women into entrepreneurship also? Or are they just like garnishing? Yes, Mishra.
I just wanted to say this work from home model that has come out in COVID times is going to get many more women very
Many.
Yes. Pursue careers. Because I think that's always been one of the challenges that women have faced in terms of a 24/7 work routine, which is not possible. But this actually has now opened the segue for women to actually have this, what they call the home life balance, where a lot of companies today are looking at shortening their weeks and allowing people to work from home for a few days a week.
Yes.
And I think this is ideally suited for women.
Absolutely. So, if I can interject here, what I'm hearing today, and maybe Kiran and Sangita, you can also say, companies today are looking at giving flexi times, just not work from home, and maybe like Europe, we will have 2 or 3 contracts that an individual can work for. You can work for 2 or 3 companies. That's not allowed today, but in Europe, that's a done thing. And I was hearing from a CEO of a large tech company, probably that's going to come in there considering these things. So there again, a lot more women's participation would come in.
Lovely. So I have 6 more questions, but I've been told that the time's up. So I would like to get some parting remarks. I have so many more questions, but let's keep it at 6 for now. But so parting remarks, we'll start with Ms. Shaw. Could you please let us know what is your message or a parting remark for all the audience here? And again, it is gender agnostic remark. If I may.
So I just think, this is a surreal time. We are going through some really unforeseen and unpredictable kind of times. And I think we as women have to show our strength of mind, our inclusive, traits, I think, which are very important at this time. Empathy is so important at this time. And I think, to take off where Sangita talked about women leaders in the world who have actually shown that empathy, shown that caring, inclusiveness, and used a lot of common sense to deal with the pandemic. And I think that's what I think women should draw their courage from. There are so many role models today in the world in terms of women in leadership roles who have really shown the way, that I think they ought to, get a lot of confidence and courage from these very difficult times. And one of the things I'd like all the women to really work towards, there's a fear psychosis in our society that has set in, saying that, it is so scary that life will be absolutely impossible until, everything disappears. And we all know that it's going to take a long time for this to really blow over. But as women, I think we need to show confidence and courage to our families. And I would really like the women to really focus on that empathy, that fortitude and courage to really give to their families, saying, look, whatever happens, we will overcome it. Let's, make sure that we all don't get drowned by fear. So that's really what I want. And of course, in this, there, as I mentioned, I think if anyone has aspirational, dreams, then I think this is the time to go for it, because you're not going to get this kind of an opportunity again to think of new ideas and ideas which are so gender agnostic.
Thank you, Kiran. Dr. Reddy.
So, when you want to talk to a group of women, there is so much to say and to share. But first, let me get the COVID messaging out of the way. And that is, stay safe, continue to maintain, the sanitize, the mask, social distancing. I have one more messaging, which is really help your family prepare, because this is so pervasive. So don't get into a panic when it happens. Sit down together and say, there's a likelihood, however careful we are, and this is going to be our plan. Shall we test? Have we done immunity? What is our isolation strategy? Where should we go? Talk to your hospital or your provider earlier. Please plan earlier so that you don't go into panic mode. The second important one I want to say is that people need to start going out with all precautions. So please focus very strongly on reverse isolating the elderly. Because when you have elderly at home, they are the ones who need to be significantly taken care of. You and me will manage fine with this. Even if we get infected, it's going to be 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, we will be fine. We have to protect the elderly, and that's what is actually the biggest contribution to the nation. Coming to contribution to the nation, I really want every woman to feel confident that they all have something to contribute. And it's not about building an amazing business like Kiran or, this thing. It's about your role in making a better society, an equal society, of society having a voice and the courage to speak up, of identifying the value systems and bringing up children who appreciate those value systems. And not about the cynical saying, nothing's going to change, let me become scarcity mentality, survive some manner. Please let us as a culture and as India stay rooted in these value systems and be open, be secular, be supportive, appreciate culture and art. And I completely respect science, and I want girls and all kids to be strong in STEM, but I want them to have an equal appreciation of the beautiful things in life, because ultimately that's what gives it meaning. And this doesn't mean you have to spend a bunch of money, but even a single flower has beauty. And we should not, in this fear and this rat race, forget that perception of beauty. The final thing, that I want to say is that let everyone have the courage to pursue their dreams. And when your dreams have been realized to a degree, please reach out and help the next woman. Because that mentorship, that reaching out is one of the things which I think will in the long run give us the maximum satisfaction. So whether you do it, the Greater 50% has a mentorship framework, and I'd really request all of you to go into that. See if you can just sign up to be a mentor for someone. Give somebody the courage to say, go ahead, you're on the right track. Whatever it is that you do, even if it's, encourage your household staff to have a savings account, or to have financial independence, or the courage to have a decision making, to open their own bank account. Last 1 minute, the other day I was reviewing our online education vertical, and they were talking about the number of enquiries, which was 67% women, but the number of sign-ups, which were only 41% women. And they said when it moved, then a male member of the house took the phone and did the decision making. So, I felt somewhere, not for this thing of the business, but I just felt a little deeply sad that, these are graduates and postgraduates talking about their future education, but the decision making is being done by a male. And I asked, when the young men are on the phone, do they hand it over to their fathers or someone else? And they said, no, ma'am. And so that encapsulated it for me, that please have the courage to stand up and take your own decisions, make your own path, and still, then maintain inclusive empathy and caring for humanity. And when we get that balance right, the whole world will be a better place.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. This is awesome. Yes, and Deepanwita?
Yeah, Sangita has said it all. So it's so nicely put. I feel the messaging for women is, don't be scared, go out, talk, discuss, open up your mind. Exposure makes people. So it's so important to be able to know, to make friends, to be connected, because there is nothing called silly. Women actually have seen, in meetings, they do not, in classes, when I take classes, they cannot ask questions because they're afraid that people will think they're stupid, they're silly. There's nothing. So between knowing and not knowing is that moment. The moment you know. So why should you be scared? And there is nothing in this world that can be, you don't know means, okay, fine. And I can always know, there is all this scope to know. So have the courage to ask questions. Have the courage to say, yes, I can do it. Just don't always feel diffident, and for one time tell yourself, yes, I will be the decision maker. I will make a call. It's not my father, not my husband, not my mother. It's I who should. The life is mine. I should lead it. Even if I make a mistake, that's fine. I should be able to. I can, that's why I talk to a lot of men in various forums because they need to be guided too. They need to see women in the right role and right perspective, because men otherwise will always have this peculiar understanding, half understanding, that women have to be soft, women have to be told, women have to be guided. So I think we have a role to tell men, sorry, we know what we are doing. And it happens slowly. It's not a one time. You don't need to be abrasive. You don't need to be antagonistic. You just keep on doing it every day in your every decision of your life. And yes, you'll see that there's a difference that you've made.
So thank you so much, and all of you amazing. And I think it's very clear, the takeaways for at least me, I think we'll do a little bit of the poll afterwards, that the first takeaway is that there are a lot of opportunities available. It is up to all of us to grab them. So for that, all we need to do is research, be prepared, and most importantly, step up and ask for yourself, as Deepanwita and Sangita and Kiran said. The next thing is that with the current situation, be prepared, do not panic, and make sure that you're aware of what is available. And the most important thing for me to take away is that if you're in a position where you feel that you can be a mentor, please offer help to at least one person. And if you need help, please feel free to ask any of us for any help whatsoever. So that is the takeaway. Kiran, you wanted to say something? No, sorry. So now
Thank you for clearing it so well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Thank you. So now we are actually moving to some questions from the media, from the supporters of this webinar, and also there is some press here. So very quickly, we'll go over to our supporters. We'll start with Ms. Usharani Manne, who is the president for FLO Hyderabad. Madam, you wanted to ask a question of Ms. Deepanwita.
Thank you, Sangita, Kiran, Deepanwita, and Deepthi, for giving us such a comprehensive view of what an effective healthcare system should be all about. My question to you, Deepanwita, you are in a place where you see innovation every day. Are you seeing new digital technologies that are focusing on improving access to healthcare, especially in limited resources settings like India?
Yes, I am. Actually, there are several, it's a large number of startups. Several actually puts a kind of a limit. I'm seeing working on various aspects and various facets of remote monitoring of health. It is point of care. Point of care has moved from hospital to home. Point of care is where the person is. So hospital may not be the place of treatment going forward. There would be other areas like home, office. There may be other areas of treatment. We really need, and that I'm seeing happening. We have startups right from mental health app, which is advising, to a solution like under mattress monitoring of health. And in COVID times, they have pivoted very nicely to all kinds of health monitoring. So yes, digital health is going digital, but we have to also remember that ultimately there has to be you don't all the time won't be able to take decisions on your own, or you need doctors, you need healthcare providers, you need all that system. So we need a very comprehensive system in place. But yes, digital healthcare space is expanding, and I'm seeing a lot of very innovative startups in that space. Yes.
Thank you.
So now, Ms. Dr. Satyanarayana Garu from Laurus Labs India. Sir, you had some questions for our panel, Kiran, and yes, please, can we request you to ask the questions now?
Yeah. Good afternoon, and it was a great to listen from three stalwarts in the different segments. Congratulations to Dr. Kiran Mazumdar for winning the Entrepreneur of the Year Award. I have one question to Dr. Kiran Mazumdar. See, India is a hotbed for chronic diseases and therapies. Do you think the companies who are leading in the chronic therapies, are they doing enough in the pharmacovigilance? India needs a lot of data to generate that pharmacovigilance. What is your view on that? That is one question.
So I think there is a huge opportunity for us to, perform pharmacovigilance, because you very rightly have said that we have so many new drugs that are being trialed. We have so many patients who are being, used as, people who need, where we are trying to sort of assess the efficacy of many of these therapies and drugs. I mean, there's so many opportunities for us to do so much work, especially in pharmacovigilance. So even if you give plasma therapy, even if you give any of the new treatment regimens, how are these patients doing? Is there a follow-up? Is there pharmacovigilance? Of course, I think for every drug, we need to have pharmacovigilance. I think this will come. I'm very sure that as we create a clinical research culture and a very strong, robust, structure for doing clinical research, pharmacovigilance will become a very, very important part of this particular sector. So I think it will take time. Right now, it may not be at an optimal level, but I'm sure in the years ahead, if we really apply our minds and put a lot of focus on clinical research, it will happen.
Thanks. I also have one question to Dr. Sangita. So, do you expect the Indian healthcare system will also move towards cure rather than just treatment and follow-up?
So, in connection with COVID, I think, or actually in connection with everything, my hope is that we move to prevention even before. So we move to prevention. We move to medication compliance, so we minimize complications. We move to appropriate cures and appropriate follow-up. So this is the kind of framework of continuum of care, of science and evidence-based solutioning. I would also foresee in the future that there'll be a lot more holistic management of a patient, whether it's alternate methodologies of medicine or even the incorporation of health, wellness, fitness, all those into daily lives, and a more intrinsic appreciation of physiotherapy, the importance of diet, prevention, and most importantly is proactive monitoring of a patient, so that, in India, 72% of our cardiac patients, when they come to us, have more than 2 vessels blocked. We should have seen them before they blocked, that first vessel got blocked. The same is this thing for cancer. 62% of cancer patients come in stage 3 and stage 4. This is a breakdown of primary health care and the lack of appropriate screening and prevention. If we can correct this, the overall burden of disease will come down, and more importantly, the pain and suffering to individuals and family members will come down. So our ability to invest in a system which is proactive is something that I really look forward to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Satyanarayan Garu. Now, Ms. Uma Chiguru Patil has a question. So, Madam, can you please go ahead and ask the question of the panel? Thank you.
Sangita.
Hi, Uma.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here. See, we already spoke about telemedicine and all. In this particular situation of COVID, how far it will be helpful, the limitations, the burdens, especially, not everyone, especially people of lower strata, can't afford to, get hospitalized and all. How far do you think it will be helpful?
So, Uma, I think it's already been helpful and transformational. See, if you see the apps which have come where you can consult with a doctor on the phone, it's just exploded. We have at Apollo always had the infrastructure to do it. We took it up now. What used to be about 50 to 100 teleconsults a day have crossed 2,000. But then it's even more because we've had over 18 million people do the health risk scan. And then there's the Swast app, there's the Arogya Setu, and that use of technology in terms of zones and where not to go. So this technology, based on the fact that connectivity in India has been tremendous, the tele-density and the knowledge of the mobile phone is outstanding in our population, and therefore healthcare should use this intrinsic connected infrastructure. Besides this, like Kiran spoke about Stay transformed from a hotel into a medically supervised isolation room because we put telemedicine in there. We connected by downloading an app. Every patient who's in Stay is connected to a medical call center. Every patient, we record their temperature, so we know earlier if somebody has a chance of sinking. What is happening in hospitals today are people are just rushing. The COVID itself gives you a little bit of advanced warning. So please start talking to a doctor when you have a throat pain or a fever, not when your oxygen saturation is going below 90. So using technology as an early warning symptom. Then moving the spectrum, using technology now in COVID, our ICU is connected to over 1,000 beds which are not inside Apollo through eICU. So these are things which are happening right now using technology. And then our ICU doctors became positive, and they became not the COVID. Actually, the COVID ward, we were very blessed because of all the PPEs, etc. We've had hardly any infections in the COVID ward of the medical staff. The other ICU doctors who were outside got community-acquired infection, but they continued to do eICU from home. The fantastic AI-enabled CT scan analytics. There is a COVID algorithm, and so we're using that. So in partnership with Zebra, an Israeli company, and Behold, we're giving our CT scan interpretation in seconds about their possible risk of COVID. So lots of examples, Uma, where technology has been transformational in enabling us to handle scale. See, always a great doctor is the best solution. But since we have a shortage of doctors and a shortage of time, it's important to incorporate technology into the solutioning. I'll stop here. I love technology. I can keep on talking. But thank you for the question. It's very critical for the future of India to strengthen our medical technology.
Thank you, Sangita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sangita. And thank you, Magaru. So very quickly, Kiran, I know, ma'am, you have a hard stop at 3:30. So there are two questions. First question is from the media. I'll just get the media question first. The question that they have is, how can India boost pharma exports while cutting dependence on China for raw materials? This is from the Financial Express. The question is from them.
So I think, this dependence on China has been known for some time. And of course, Indian industry has been looking at reducing its dependence on many of the key starting materials and APIs for this particular, for the pharma sector. I think it will, if you really sort of have a policy in place, and if you can actually start committing a planned approach to sort of replacing your dependence on Chinese imports, I think in a very short period of time, you will be able to, be self-reliant in terms of APIs, because we have all the capabilities. We were actually producing all of this a decade ago, and we basically surrendered all of this to China because of cost. Today, I think cost is not the kind of compulsion. It is really about making sure that your dependence is reduced. I still believe that you should not completely try and become 100% self-reliant, but you should be able to make these products yourself and then have the flexibility and the choice of outsourcing from multiple destinations. For any organization, as you know, a single source, dependence is always not a good strategy, and you do need multiple sources to be developed. And therefore, I would say that Indian companies ought to do that. Apart from developing our own indigenous companies, we also need to multiple source many of our requirements in the pharmaceutical world.
Thank you, Kiran. And I think...
And I have to leave because I've got the meeting, but it was great to be on this forum. And bye, Sangita. Bye,
Hey,
Deepanwita.
see you, Kiran. Take care.
And thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kiran. Yeah. Thank you so much. So we will continue with the meeting. And now we have a question from Mr. Anvesh Manne, who from Polmon Group. Sir, you want to ask the question?
Sure. Good afternoon. Dr. Reddy, thank you for sharing your views on the Indian healthcare industry. I'm always in awe of Apollo's ability to deliver cutting-edge healthcare treatments in India. I myself am a budding entrepreneur in the medical device sector. So I'd like to understand your views on what you think about how the medical device manufacturing industry in India can be, geared up to meet the requirements of the hospitals right now. Because currently, if you step into an Apollo, you don't see any mostly you don't see any Indian-made, medical devices. It's the Philips, GE, or one of these American companies or German companies. So what is it that we're missing in the Indian manufacturing?
So, Anvesh, first, thanks for the question and for your dedication to a sector which needs help. I think that it's very important for all of you. This is a booming sector. I don't have the numbers of the size of the sector offhand, but I do know that last year's growth was upward of 67%.
Right.
We kind of have this reputation, but it's not factually true. We have a lot of Indian these things, and in fact, no, it's not this thing. Don't worry. I'm just saying factually. So Forus is a company that I actually helped work with. We replaced one of the Japanese eye testing equipment, which used to cost about, I think it was 29 lakhs or 35 lakhs. And when we spoke to Forus, we said, if you made these adjustments, your machine would look better. And actually, we ideated in terms of incorporating the IoT. So the whole aspect of teleophthalmology evolved in Apollo hospitals working with an Indian manufacturer.
Okay.
So I'd be very happy to, talk further. We're piloting almost, in fact, we've assessed 132 devices. We're piloting 6 different devices, including one which is part of our connected rooms initiative. So I'll just, drop me an email and I'll connect you to Ishita and the team in Apollo Research and Innovation.
Great. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Reddy.
And good luck.
So now we have Ms. Manjula Reddy, who has a question for the panel. Ms. Reddy, Ms. Manjula Reddy.
Yeah, hi, Sangita. I was just, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Manju, go ahead.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah. Can I request you all to take one member of FLO to guide them and in whatever you guys can? You didn't get it. I'm just saying, if either of you can take one FLO member to guide them in your respective fields to do something.
So, Manju, one member is not enough. We want the whole of FLO. So this initiative, which is, which was launched, and I think you were in US during the launch, but the Greater 50 is about FICCI and FLO working together to bring more women into the workplace, to enhance leadership in women. Please connect with your FLO chair. We'll probably be doing a statewide launch with all the conveners. We have fantastic women working on it. There's Nivriti Rai of Intel. There's Vinita Bimbet from FLO. There's, lots of fantastic women on it. I can't even, and some outstanding men. So Ajit Ranganekar is heading up our resource initiative in this. Many partners, micro mentors from the US, United Nations, great places to work. So lots of exciting things happening. Please check out the website.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Sangita, we actually are also a partner on this, by the way, with you on the FLO initiative. And Manjula Reddy Garu, one thing I would like to add is, I think Usha Garu, you can actually speak. VHub and FLO are already collaborated, and I think that is the way. We have a lot of mentors. Ms. Reddy is on our board also. So we have a lot of mentors. So please approach us for any kind of help, whatever is needed. So Ms. Manne, you want to speak a little bit about this collaboration?
I'll connect later. and talk.
Thank you. So now we move on to the Vanilla has a question. I think is she Vanilla? Would you like to ask the question?
Hello, good afternoon, Sangita garu. Good afternoon, Deepanwita.
Afternoon.
I would like to ask a very broad question. What do you see are the current challenges within the sector for a country like India?
Is this directed to anyone in particular?
No, I mean, anybody can answer. I know because it's a broad question, because it was lovely getting inputs from all of you. But if you also talk about some of the challenges and how we are at the moment and where should we put our trust on, and it would be a good message for the other startup companies.
So in terms of, problems, what I'm seeing clearly is there is definitely a bias against women in terms of funding options. So whether you go to a bank or any of these, this is across the spectrum, especially in lower socioeconomic strata. Again, many women do not have assets on their name, therefore their ability to show collateral is also creating a situation of lack of capital. From lack of capital comes scaling down of plans and therefore lower scale. So very few women are able to take their small business ideas to larger ones because of lack of capital. It's here, I think, where places like Deepthi, like we have, are really helping women make a difference to overcome some of these problems. The social infrastructure in terms of household help, creches, things like that. Again, WeHub is an exception, but many people don't have that. And that's where we're trying to work systemically with great places to work so that having a women-friendly environment at work becomes an aspirational thing for a company and then moves on to becoming an essential for any good company. So we need to move the needle into saying women appropriateness is not, doesn't make me great. It's a hygiene factor. Everybody has to do it. So it's like every time I talk about a challenge, I like to think about how are we solving them. So, I'm giving you both sides of it. And the most important challenge is really in everyone's mind. And therefore, each one of you can solve that problem for yourself and by reaching out to others and helping solve it for them, by giving them the strength, the encouragement, or the technical knowledge of what to do.
Yeah, I just want to come in here. Veni, wanted to tell you, if you're looking at how we are seeing the healthcare sector and where startups are coming, drug development, drug discovery, these are very long drawn processes, and I'm not seeing so many startups. It is not possible for startups to come in at that stage, but medical devices is an area where we see a lot of new initiatives and startups. And it could be healthcare, it could be devices, it could be diagnostics, but there the gestation period is maybe 4 to 7 years. And so I'm seeing a lot of startups coming in that area. In case you need any particular help, we'll be most happy to take it offline. And
so can we now have Priya to actually take over from here? Thank you so much, Sangita and Deepanwita. As always, pleasure and inspiration seeing both of you.
Very nice seeing you, and all the best. Beautifully done, and good luck, and stay safe to all the lovely women who are listening in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll take another 3-4 minutes of your time, and for all the selfless service that our frontline warriors, especially from the healthcare system, are rendering, we owe a deep debt of gratitude to all of them. So on behalf of our guest speakers today, we are glad to make a small donation to United Way Hyderabad. So we are also thrilled to present you all with a coffee table book, Blooms and Looms, a weave of ikebana and saris from our gifting partner, Pushpam Publications. Physical copies of the certificates and the book will reach you soon. And now over to Senior Vice Chair Umachi Gurpati for the vote of thanks.
A very good afternoon, all of you. A country can be called healthy when health services are affordable, adequate, and acceptable for all its citizens. It is the right of everyone to have access to comprehensive quality healthcare services and achieving health equity to all. Today, we have witnessed a great session with three most powerful women who are high achievers, well reputed and respected in their respective fields. Really appreciate their presence here today. Sangita, thank you so much for being with us. I can understand as a prominent person in healthcare industry and also as the president of FICCI, representing the industry, how busy you are, and thanks a lot again for being with us today. Ms. Kiran, I think she left. The whole world is looking towards life sciences now. As one of the most powerful persons in the industry, a scientist, as a business leader, she must be very busy. And during this period too, she made time for us and joined us. Thank you so much to Ms. Kiran. Ms. Deepanwita, thank you so much for joining us. You had given strength to the Make in India concept and slogan, which is the sentiment of nation today. Thank you for your participation and encouragement. Thank you so much. Deepthi, thank you so much for your wonderful moderation and making the program very interesting. Thank you, Deepthi. My gratitude to all our sponsors from the pharma sector, Laurus Labs, Aurobindo Pharma, and Granules India for their support in organizing this program. I also thank Polmon Group, our gold sponsors, and RBC, our branding sponsors, and also gifting partners, Pushpam Publications. I congratulate and thank all my hardworking committee for bringing out this wonderful program and the IT team for all the support. Thank you all the past chairs, fellow flow members of all the chapters, media, and all the viewers for being with us today. Before I end, I'd like to mention the need of the hour is protecting ourselves and to give support and help to others, whether they are our neighbors, people in the community, or colleagues. Check how they are by calling them, talking to them, and assist them in their time of need. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay happy. Have a nice weekend. Namaste.
Thank you, Uma.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All of us at the Flow back office can't thank you enough for encouraging us with your participation. It's your support that keeps us going. There's a lot more coming your way, members, in the next few weeks. Stay tuned to all our broadcasts on email, mobile, Facebook, and Instagram. Hope you have the Flow office on speed dial for assistance of any kind. And before I end, I will request IT team to once again play our sponsor slides. Thank you. And thank you all once again. Namaste. Thanks to all our guest speakers and our moderator, Deepthi. Thank you so much to your offices for coordinating so proactively with us. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Have a great weekend, all of you.
Thank you, Deepanwita.
Thank you, Usha.
Yeah, thank you. It's
Thank
been
you.
great.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed.
Thank you, Deepanwita.
Thank you, Deepthi, and thank you, Deepanwita.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Deepthi.
thanks. Thanks, Deepthi, you did a great job. So, as usual, enjoyed. And all of you, I think it's a fantastic meeting. I'll leave now and we'll catch up again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much. Bye, Priya. I'll catch up offline. Usha Garu, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, definitely.
And thank you, Deepthi.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, I hope we can work again later.
You're done fantastic job.